on the Texas A&M Sports Network. From Learfield, welcome to the Coach Jimbo Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Also brought to you in part by Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer, is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. Celebrate responsibly. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. Visit Rudy's.com to find real Texas barbecue near you. Twisted Tea, hard iced tea for the 12th man. Please drink responsibly. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas, driving access to better health through it all. And by Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. Now, welcome to the Coach Jimbo Show. Here's the voice of the Aggies, Andrew Monaco.
Howdy, we welcome you to Rudy's. We're going to try one live for once. It is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. You're just fine. We're going to come to you in just a little bit. After an SEC opening win over Auburn on Saturday, the Aggies travel to AT&T Stadium in Arlington for the annual Southwest Classic to rumble with the Razorbacks. That will be Saturday morning. We'll review that win over the Tigers on Saturday, what stood out, who stood out, and we'll preview Saturday's opponent, Arkansas. So glad to see all of you here at Rudy's. If you're joining us on the Texas A&M Sports Network, thank you very much. Perhaps on the 12th Man mobile app or Learfield's Varsity Network app, or if you're streaming and listening, check in on the Texas A&M Football Facebook page, because we're going to talk Aggie football for the next hour with the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Jimbo Fisher, when the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit, rolls on from Rudy's. This is Aggie football from Learfield. The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show is brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, the largest agricultural lender in Texas. Capital Farm Credit, together, we're better. I believe it's now about 120 consecutive weeks that Capital Farm Credit has been here, and always here. Thank you all for being here. Chance to talk with head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. We'll talk some ball for the next hour. Howdy, Jimbo.
Howdy.
Good win. I said this in your office, and you said it, and I hope it didn't get lost on Monday in the media availability. It's a good SEC win, and any SEC win is a good win because you know just how difficult it is.
Oh, they are. I mean, they're hard-fought games, and that was a typical game. I mean, it was a physical game, the physical, hard-fought game. Both teams had their opportunities. I thought we controlled the game for the most part of the game. Didn't put them away enough on the scoreboard, and in the second half we really come out and executed and got it away and got a lead, and then tried to let them back in it, but then at the same time still come back and fit it. So in hindsight, in a crazy way, you wanted to go out there and play perfect, but I got to see some things that, you know, I wanted to see when things weren't right. We kept our poise, kept executing, had a lead, gave it back, didn't panic again, put it away. And I know that sounds crazy, but sometimes you know you can do that. Now I've had enough of that. That's just play well all the way through. But at the same time, you know, they're a physical team. They're a good team. They did some really good things. They got good players. And an SEC team, and Auburn's always a very good team.
You got the lead. You held that lead. The defense helped you hold that lead. I thought did a great job, Jimbo. As soon as Auburn got to about the 40, even a little more.
We were able to make the critical plays.
Yeah.
We were able to make critical plays. And that's what I keep saying. Finding the inches and making the critical plays at critical times. There's always 3 to 5 plays in a game that dictate the momentum swing, whether you run away with it, whether you don't. And we were able to make those key plays. And our defense was outstanding. We had 15 tackles for loss and 7 sacks. So that's 22 negative plays, along with other penalties. You had holding penalties. And I don't care on offense. Your goal on offense is to stay on track. You know what I mean? Even if it's a 2 or 3 yard gain, it keeps you heading in the right direction. And the negative plays and getting behind the chains, as they say, can be detrimental because it's how you have to make it up. Then you have to expose yourself in different areas to do things. And then we were able to control the field position from that. So I thought defensively we did a really, really good job that way. And offensively, moved the football. There was no problem. We had a little lull right there at the end, in the first half, and they were more self-inflicted. There were some things that we just did that, you know, didn't execute consistently with poise and confidence all the time, and then we gained it back and did a really nice job. And, you know, unfortunately, Connor got hurt, but Max came in and did a great job and led us down to some great touchdown drives. Like I said, and he's playing great football, and we were able to run the football. You saw Le'Veon starting to get healthy. You saw what I always talk about with Le'Veon. He's got a gear. He's got different gears, man. The guy's strong. He's powerful. He's athletic. You know, young Ruben playing, and Mari had the great run, great open field run, too, because he pressed the safeties and didn't run away. And open field running is probably the worst running that most backs do. I don't care who you are. Understanding how to run in the open field. Everybody runs in contested areas, but how to press people and turn people and not give them angles on it. And he did a great job of that. And our kicking game, again, Randy Bond coming out, hitting the field goals, hitting a 52-yarder to get us started in the first drive. And his kickoffs have been excellent and doing a great job there.
He kicks that 50-yarder at the end of ULM. sees that ball go through the uprights, helps in that next kick.
You can tell in practice he's letting it go the last 3 weeks in practice. Before, he's hitting it good in practice, but just a little control, trying to make it instead of kicking it. It's like when a pitcher throw the ball. Don't aim the ball. Mm-hmm. You got to turn it loose as a quarterback. You can't hope that you don't want to be afraid to miss a pass. You got to throw the pass. You know what I mean? And kickers, I always say it's like when you're golfers at golf, that they're truly hitting the driver. They're trying to drive the ball, not trying to keep it in the fairway. There's two different swings.
Steer it.
There's two different swings, and he's not. He's hitting it purely. He's got confidence, and the ball's really going.
You just said something that I love. You told this team, turn it loose.
Yeah, you got to. Quit worrying about the mistakes. Quit worrying about react, see it, process it, go get it. And you can't worry about what ifs. You can't worry about losing. You can't worry about mistakes. You can't worry about any of that. You got to play, and you got to trust. You got to trust yourself, trust your players, and trust your eyes. I always say trust what you see. Don't hesitate. You know what I mean? And that's the poise and the practice and the habits and the things that allows that to, as I say, turn it loose, play fast, and react. And that's the only way you can play football at a high level.
So many highs and lows, Jimbo. And you talk about Max coming in the second half. The initial for Connor Wigman was good news. Turns out it's not good news.
No, it wasn't. And we had a X-ray and an MRI, and you saw nothing, felt very good, and just had some unusual pain that just didn't make sense. You know what I mean? So they got a CAT scan in, and the CAT scan it showed some bone damage and things like cracks in there, and so they're going in to they'll fix him, and he'll be out for quite a while. But at the same time, I'm glad we found him because it made sense. The other things we had a really great diagnosis, and we didn't even know till Tuesday morning when it finally got diagnosed that way. So, unfortunate for him. Hate it for him. Hate it for our team because he's a great player and was leading us very well. Not saying now I feel totally confident in Max. Max came in and played great. I said we had 2 starting quarterbacks. I just hate to give one up.
Right.
Exactly. in what we're doing. So, but unfortunately, that's part of football, and we'll get him healthy and get him back, and we'll get going.
We'll talk about Max a little bit more, but you talk about saddle time. Max Johnson has saddle time in the SEC.
He does. He did it when he was playing at LSU. He had it for us. He was 2-0 leading us, and then, unfortunately had the broken thumb last year. So we got to keep him healthy, keep him going. But he had a really good day of practice this week, and really, I thought, excellent day today. I was really pleased with that. A couple little things will get ironed out, but played really well, got a great understanding, a lot of experience. And the players love Max. The players respect Max. That's the other word. It's respect, and they have confidence in Max. So, hey, we're full go. We're ready to go.
We will talk about the win over Auburn. We'll preview Arkansas. And we continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Stay with us. This is Aggie football from Learfield. Howdy, Aggs. Andrew Monaco here, inviting you all to visit Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill. Baja-style Mexican made from scratch daily. Serving breakfast tacos, lunch, and dinner. Aggie-owned and operated by our friend Holly in South College Station. Don't know if you know, but SEC Inside was in College Station last week, so you'll see that on SEC Network. Chance to take you inside the program, at the game, during practice. And what I love about it, and we're going to hear a little bit, it gives you an inside look at Coach Fisher's relationship with his student-athletes.
Shamar, wait, he let him work on your hair? Your uncle, you don't let your uncle work on your hair?
Oh, yeah, I'm getting a cut today.
How you trust a bald-headed barber?
He been cutting my hair.
Yeah, but he bald-headed, he ain't got no hair. I would look at the barber's hair and see what it's going to look like.
He be cutting it.
You trust a bald-headed barber, man, huh? You trusting a bald-headed barber, man, you crazy. Hey, the only thing they make good bald heads. Here's what you're doing on your.
Get what?
Well, you're staying on your fake, which is good. Remember, just always bring both feet. Get your base back up. Now don't. It's like hitting off your front foot. Huh? I always knew you were a singles hitter. Huh? Huh? No, but you know what I mean? That's where because then what it does, it pushes that elbow down. You're a good type of goes like them. We got some guys getting down the field though, shots, and you know who the sorest guys are in the game? Quarterback. Your shoulder's always gonna hurt, your elbow's gonna hurt, your hand's gonna hurt, your knee gonna hurt. You gotta take bullets, man.
Never trust a bald-headed barber.
Booker, he's our barber for the team. It's Shamar's uncle.
You talk about a proud man of Shamar.
He ought to be. He
all the players.
He takes care of all of them. And I was giving him a hard time. I said, I can't believe they trust you. I was looking at the barber and see what your hair looked like. You're bald-headed. How can you be a barber? You know what I mean? Couldn't trust you.
That was fantastic.
But he's awesome. He's a great guy. Kids love him. He does a great job with him. Got a great relationship with him.
And I love the way you relate with Connor, just calling him a singles hitter.
Oh, now that aggravates him, man. Of all the things you can say your arm ain't as strong, okay, but when you say you ain't got you're a punch and Judy hitter, you're a bunny, you got to hit singles. No, Coach. I mean, our baseball backgrounds, I jab him a little bit.
Because you were kind of a power hitter for a shortstop, weren't you?
Yeah, I had a little bit. I get in the gaps and get a few, but Connor, they say if Connor could stroke it now, he could pull it. He could hit it a mile.
I always ask Jim Schlossnagle, you still have a locker for Connor over there? I think very young. I think he took some. BP. He would do that, which is that's a great stress reliever.
It is. Well, Jamie used to do that for me. He used to go and he'd take BP during the season. He'd take 3 times a week. He would go hit for an hour or whatever when he was playing there, and it is a good break. Yeah. And he'd go do it. It didn't bother me. And if Connor played baseball, I was all for it. Yeah. I mean, I've been through it.
Yeah. Plus, you've been around some great baseball coaches too.
Oh yeah, phenomenal. Mike Martin, the winningest coach in college baseball history.
Absolutely.
Great man. What a great man he was.
And I love your relationship with Schloss as well.
We were texting today.
Were you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so as I get into Max Johnson to Jake Johnson and the touchdown, I want to go a little deeper than this. I think you've hit the jackpot in recruiting. You just go after brothers. Max and Jake, Ernest and Demetrius Crownover, LT and Micaiah Overton, Chance and Jerry Johnson III.
Yeah, there's 4 sets on there. It's really good. I mean, and then they're all good players, man. I mean, usually it doesn't. The rarity is that both brothers can play at the same level. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't happen very often, and it's true, and it's great, and they're all great kids, and they're all competitive, and all have roles and can play.
You've always talked about that relationship with the families when you get into recruiting, and that's another part of it, isn't it?
Well, it is, and you think about this: if you're a family, I got to pick this Saturday or this Saturday, with this town or this town on a Saturday, and you can put them both together, and here's the key is. And people say you do that. I would never take brothers. I don't take friends. I don't do the buddy recruiting because I don't think the one is truly good enough to play, and will have a hard time because he'll have this. You got 4 to 5 years to have a great experience, and one's having a great experience, you're having a bad experience. That makes him have a bad experience, the other brother, and you don't feel the same. You know what I mean? It's great to play together, but you have to be able to compete at that level, and we're fortunate to have the whole set that can. Those 4 sets, but at the same time, that's very rare.
I mean, you've known the Johnson family
a long time.
For a long time. I love the way the players you talk about respect. They have it for Ernest, and obviously with Demetrius. You've known LT forever, right? You were talking about 8th grade.
He was at our camp now when he was in 6th grade.
6th grade. Oh, I
came to my camps at Florida State and said,
"Wait a second, was he taller than you in 8th grade?"
Yeah.
Is
Okay. Well, they actually brought him to the little kids camp, and when he came to the big kids camp,
did he really?
He was 6th or 7th grade and went into that camp with the big kids and got shook up a little bit. And it kind of bothered and scared. And I remember consoling him. He come back, but he did great. Been that way.
And then Jerry Johnson is an assistant strength coach. He's got Jerry Johnson III who comes. He's thrilled to play with Chance.
Yep.
And Chance on special teams.
Special on Chance, and his role is going to continue to grow. And he's going to be a heck of a linebacker. He can run and hit, man. I mean, he has twig. I mean, he can run for a linebacker and a guy his size.
Yeah, you got some depth at linebacker, don't you?
We're getting there. Those young guys are playing, and we've got a good group coming in, hopefully. And that's the key. Get those D linemen. Those linebackers can clean it up.
Isn't it nice?
And that's what you saw this week.
You talked about it. You controlled the line.
Coop and York were outstanding in the game.
Yeah.
I think York was a freshman of the SEC, and I think Coop had 11. I mean, they both cleaned things up, ran, made tackles, were great. I mean, guys are playing really good football.
Well, I'll never forget what you said. We were talking about Justin Matabike, and Buddy Johnson said, "Man, I'm so glad Justin does all this." And you said he better be happy, right? Because Buddy's going to make all those tackles.
Exactly. I mean, the chaos he caused, or the double teams he caused, and allows you to run free and make plays, and that's the way football's designed.
Is that McKinley for you?
Oh yeah, McKinley. Well, I mean, McKinley, Rake, Shamar. I mean, those guys still. I mean, Dig. I mean, all those guys up front are causing. Walter Nolan.
Yeah.
Walter causes such chaos. Yeah. Those inside guys are doing a great job of that, man.
That young fella DJ Hicks is a good one too.
Oh, he's going to be a really good one. He is. He's getting limited playing, but he's going to be outstanding. He really is.
It's the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. It will roll on from Rudy's when we return. This is Aggie football from Learfield. Barker's Heating and Cooling is proud to be the official heating and cooling provider for Texas A&M Athletics, earning your seal of approval since 1974. A lot's changed since then, but our pride in Aggie football and our commitment to providing great service remains as strong as ever. Barker's says, Gig 'em, Aggies. We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. We'll do some check-ins a little bit later on Facebook, but our first check-in should always be
Vicky and Troy.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to let y'all know we miss you.
Every week,
thinking
Jimbo.
about you and love you, and just wish you were here.
Yeah, it's every week they are with us on this show. And again, thank you all for being here. Now, we are splitting a little time because Aggie volleyball's on.
Yep.
Taking off,
I'm watching,
which is great because you talked about you loved volleyball. You might have been a little ahead of the curve of everybody.
I love watching women's volleyball. I mean, it's actually these girls are amazing.
Yeah.
How tall and long and athletic. I mean, and the explosion and the power.
Yeah.
I mean, these girls and get down and dig it out. I mean, those balls on the floor, man. It's I love watching. It's such a fast-paced game. I love it.
Great TV sport, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah, it is like absolutely almost.
Tell you what, when you see it in person, though, that's where you appreciate it.
Oh, that's so much fun.
How hard they're hitting the ball.
Yeah.
How high they can get.
The rally scoring,
jumping.
I think, has changed everything. I think it's great. The rally scoring, I think that's fantastic. We continue with Jimbo Fisher as we talk more Aggie football. As we continue, I wanted to ask a couple of things. Is the highs and lows of a season, obviously the personal nature, Noah Thomas, and running back and forth from Houston. How important to have people like Mikado Hinson, to have Ryan Pitzinger, the guys that you can rely on, the spiritual guide of Mikado, who, Jimbo, to me, he's a guy, when you see him, he makes your day better. And just Ryan and the mental aspect of all this, to have folks like Ryan and his staff that these players can rely on.
There's a lot of folks that, it's like us as human beings. There's people you can relate to, you talk to, you go to your pastor. And some people, there's issues that go on, and there's a lot of pressure on kids today, as we know, that there's 100-fold compared to 10, 15 years ago. So able to have guys that can talk to them about mental health, and we have other outside forces beyond Ryan that we bring people in and talk and do guys that, we counsel guys that in drug use, you know what I'm saying, making sure what you have, what you don't have, people, because sometimes people in your family, just outside voices, not always the same voice, and people that are experts in what they do. And like I say, and people think, well, the guy goes to mental health, what's wrong with him? Nothing. Nothing.
Correct.
You don't have to be sick to get better. You know what I'm saying? And that's the point I try to make with those guys. And what those guys try to do, sometimes you just let you organize your thoughts. How do you deal with the pressures? How do you think? I'm a big guy on self-talk. I believe in a player when he self-talks to himself, things he says to himself in a game, how he talk. You can talk yourself into playing well, you can talk yourself into playing bad. And when things happen in a game, certain phrases and key things that put you back in gear, as I say, getting back to your fundamentals, getting back to, okay, they make plays. It's not the end of the world. How do I get myself back into playing? And these are the same way with these guys, the outside forces that help these kids. There's so many problems and issues, and just hearing a different voice, a different way, a different thing it's said, with a different perspective. And God's always, when you got your pastor doing it, God's always there over all of us. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you have to present these things for these kids because it's about their growth personally. Because when they grow personally, then they grow as their academics grow, the ball grows, and then they have a future. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And to get them to maximize what they can do in academics, maximize what they can do in ball, which gives them a future when they get out of ball. And that's what the whole process is about. And that's why I say it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
Just like, you always had people in your life when you're at home. There's a grandma, there's a stepmom, there's an aunt, an uncle, whatever it may be that can help you. And it's the same way here. We're all just different branches of parents and family that help the kids grow.
I'm glad the stigma is gone of it. It used to be a stigma when you said, I'm going to see someone.
Because everybody was embarrassed. Everybody was, and like when you can go to the doctor for a checkup. And you go to the doctor sometime when you think, your arm, there don't always have to be something wrong with you. Hey, check me up. I think maybe something's wrong. Having a pain here. Okay, or I'm thinking this, or there's nothing wrong with getting help.
Right.
In any way, shape, or form. Because it's about you developing and understanding how to be a better person.
And I know you, obviously, you want that young man to succeed on the field, but when he can get over that and then is the father, the brother.
He'll never succeed over the field until he succeeds as a person.
Yeah.
I don't care what you say. He may have glimpses of it, but he's not going to be the consistent person and the consistent player and the consistent student and anything in life until he's right with himself and understanding that process and what it's like. And understanding that there's going to be successes, there's going to be failures, how you deal with them, and how you deal with the criticism. You hear it all the time. Things people say, you think players mess up on purpose? And things they say and what they do. And I understand you're upset and you're emotional and you're a fan. I get all that. But don't make it personal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Don't make it personal. They didn't do it on purpose. And those kids take it to heart. Everything they read, everything they have, everything, it goes to heart. You know what I'm saying? They say, well, they should. Well, no, they shouldn't. It's not being a good person on your end, too. You know what I'm saying? So those are issues you're always having to have those people there to help them. And big thing, turn it off. But the other thing is understand. But you got to have people there. And listen, they know themselves. They carry enough burden on themselves, so you have to have help from them in every way possible.
He's Jimbo Fisher. This is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We'll start turning our attention to Saturday's opponent, Arkansas, when we return to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit from Rudy's. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to provide a trip for 12 to the Ole Miss game on November 4th. To register for the 12th Fan trip, visit 12thman.com/12thfan. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is a proud corporate partner of Texas A&M Athletics. We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. To the question portion, and I can't believe it's 34 after, but here you go. Were you at least tempted to tackle the guy when you were on the field?
Heck no. I want no part of being sore, man. That would have hurt. I know it was, I saw. I didn't realize that he coming. I didn't see the ball fumbled. Like I said, I thought he was already down. And he falling. I said, "You got to be kidding me!" Coming back at us.
The only person who was saved there was Max, right? You were going to say something to Max.
Yeah, I was. I was saying something to Max on the next play about the next play, and then they were coming back by. At least I didn't. I just let him go by, and then I walked off.
Yeah. Didn't we just talk last week? I was joking with you about you were talking with Evan Stewart after a play and going over a lot of things, and Le'Veon ran right by you, and you were like, I'm going to bust your tail. And I think I heard him chuckle.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He did something, Jimbo. It's so interesting at practice. He doesn't need a lot of room.
No.
And he just squirts through and accelerates that patience.
He's so twitchy and athletic. You have his twitch and explosion and athleticism are very unique.
Yeah,
they really are. And he's gaining confidence more and more and more. And you can see how he's running. And he moves a pile, but he can run away from you and catches the ball. And I mean, we got three really good backs, and that I like a lot. But Le'Veon, you can see him just really starting to. His confidence grow, and it's fun to watch.
You touched upon Amari, and then Ruben makes the catch in the hurdle.
Yeah, makes a catch in the hurdle, and great play by him. And Amari, great open field run by Amari. How to press the blocks and got him turned that run into an 80-yarder and kind of helped seal it up. So it was really good. That's
really something when you see that after that initial hole and what they can do at. I was joking with Dave, second, third, fourth, fifth level for those.
Well, it is. I mean,
backs.
Open field running. If you really watch backs, is usually the worst thing they ever do because they're never in it. And really how to press blocks and get vertical. And because, if you got great speed and you got the angle and you can outrun it, that's great. But if you don't and you get it, you want to press them to create two-way goes and to make them on their heels instead of letting them leverage you to the boundary and do some of the things they did. And it was a great run.
Did guys like that learn from Devon Achane? Because you always said with Devon, it's between the tackles. That's where
you learn from. They learn from everybody they watch, but then you got to press it in their head about how to do it, and they do. And they're constantly working on drills to be able to do that.
Yeah, there is so much strength and speed. It's really wonderful to see. Okay, Sandy, I'm going to go to the second one first. And what calls did you turn into the SEC this week?
There was a couple calls, that you always do, and sometimes it's for clarification, just to make sure on things and how you're coaching something to make sure you're coaching it the right way, so it's not a penalty or it is a penalty. And there's always a few at the end of the game, so it was a pretty a couple calls we disagreed with, and a couple they liked, and so that's the way it usually is every week.
You like that communication though, to be able to
you have to. You got to be able to. You got to see how they're going to call it, what they're going to call, and how they're going to call it. That tells you how you got to coach it. Mm-hmm. So it's not a penalty, or what is a penalty?
Sandy also asks how the guys have been practicing their wrap-up and tackle skills this week.
Oh, been good. I mean, we work on it hard. I mean, that's the number one thing, open field tackling. And they got their quarterbacks hard to get on the ground. They're back. And Sanders is supposed to play this week. It's his first time back, and I'm telling you, he's the real deal now. Yeah. It's hard to get on the ground, was last year, and power. And listen, it's about leverage, step on the toes, hit on the rise, keep your head up, shoulders across, and you got to lift and you got to wrap. That's the thing that kids don't. We try to emphasize as much as anything is the wrap. The hit on the rise, step on the toes, don't lunge, so you're out of your hips. You're in your power when you tackle, but you got to wrap up. Kids want to get, I call the ESPN hit, where you just hit them and knock them down. I don't fly with good people, man.
You had a little bit of practice with some running quarterbacks last Saturday, but this is another level with KJ Jefferson.
Yeah. I mean, he's 6'5", 250, whatever he is, 45, 50, 55, whatever. But he's really on a 280-pound frame. I mean, he could be I've had some guys like that are gigantic. I mean, EJ was 240 for us, not quite as thick as KJ. Jamarcus was 265 when he played for us, and really was a 300-pound man that you kept down that way. You know what I'm saying? So when guys grab them, man, their ability to shrug, they're as big as your ends and your tackles. Mm-hmm. They can shrug off and go through arm tackles. So you got to gang tackle them. You got to get there with a bunch of people.
We'll talk more about Arkansas, the game on Saturday. 11 o'clock is the kick, 10 o'clock with our St. Joseph Health pregame show from Arlington. And when we come back, we'll hear from defensive tackle Albert Regis on KJ Jefferson. That's straight ahead on the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit from Rudy's. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Rudy's is a proud sponsor of Aggie Football. Be sure to stop by your local Rudy's or Rudy's.com for some real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoked meats, delicious sides, and Rudy's signature sauce. And we are at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station for the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. They are checking in from Melbourne, Australia, Olga and Effie. And how about Nick Constantino on that Campbell watch for, that's the Scholar Athletes.
No, Nick
that's outstanding.
Outstanding person, outstanding player, outstanding everything he does.
Yeah.
Leader, everything.
Absolutely affects me. He's always in, when I say this, it's not just he and the special teamers. He's with everybody on that team.
And he affects everybody. They love him.
He really does.
Great respect for him.
Minnesota, Linden, California, and McLean, Virginia have checked in as well. We thank you for doing that on Facebook. Right now we're going to hear from Albert Regis, Aggie defensive tackle, on Arkansas quarterback KJ Jefferson.
He's a great quarterback. I like him. I like playing against him. I like watching him. I will say that. I enjoy watching him play. I like the way he can run. He's not afraid to lower his shoulder. I respect him a lot as a man and as a quarterback. And I always get excited playing against him. And I get excited against great competition. As an athlete, that's what we live for. We thrive for great competition. And every week, there's always going to be great competition. So I respect his game, and I'm excited to play against him. If you don't wrap him up and group tackle him, you're probably 9 times out of 10 not going to succeed winning that battle. So it's hard, but if you come in and we all rally to the ball, it's not that hard.
That's another young man I really like, Albert Regis.
Oh, yeah, he gets it. He gets it. He gets a big picture of life. He understands how to play, understands what it takes to play well, and understands what to lead and be a good role model on the team.
And Jimbo, what he said, I crave competition.
You got to. I mean, you respect it. You want to win, but you live for the competition.
Yeah.
You live to test yourself. And when you play great competition, you're uncomfortable. And I always tell players, you can never be a great player or I don't think successful as a person, anything in life, until you're comfortable being uncomfortable. To the unknown and testing and not knowing what the result's going to be. And, I always say this, for Jack Nicklaus or Tiger Woods, whoever's walking down the 18th fairway down a stroke, knowing they got to hit a shot, well, okay. That's no different if they were upstroke. I mean, they feel comfortable in that situation. Yeah. Tom Brady getting the ball back with 1:30 to go and got to go score a touchdown. I'm comfortable in that. You know what I mean? Or it's an at-bat with Mike Trout or whoever's playing baseball, and they got to get a hit to win the game. Or a pitcher's got – the great ones are comfortable being uncomfortable and accepting those challenges. And when you understand that and you understand competition and how to compete, then that's when you can go somewhere. That's why you come to Texas A&M. Exactly right, to play in this league, to play against the people. And that's that's one of the things I liked about us last week. We were able to compete at the key moments of the game and those big plays. And we're going to have to find them this week because there'll be a bunch of opportunities this week, and we better find them or we're going to be in trouble. You talked about the wide receivers for Arkansas, and you talked about ball skills. Can you explain what you mean by ball skills? They can catch the football. At the end of the day, as a receiver, what do you got to do? You got to get open and catch the ball. And you got to make contested catches. When you get opportunities to make plays on the ball, you have to make them. And they have great ball skills. They have size. They have length. They have speed. They understand how to separate. And he knows how to get them the ball. And you got to be able to have, the ability to adjust on the ball, whether it's high, low, wherever it's at, and get it in your hands and be able to make those plays. And they do a great job of that with their skill guys. They can absolutely score, that's for sure. And I know I joke with you sometimes, but Sam Pittman really will have a good offensive line, right? That's in his DNA. He's a great line coach, and that's what he did. That's who he is. And they're going to have those guys coached up and ready to go. They always have. Now they're not as experienced as they were. Right. They've had the same line for almost 4 years. Yeah. I mean, that line they had the last 3 or 4. I mean, it's been the same group. But he's always going to have the next group up to how they're coached. The coaching doesn't change. No. The players change, but then they're still playing well and getting better every week.
it's a team you also talk about on defense. Jeff Coates on that defensive line. Again,
Jeff Coate, Jackson at the ends, the inside guys, the backers are key. The backers, the transfer from Cincinnati, and they can play. They can run. McLaughlin's at corner, a really good player. 17's been there forever in the secondary, plays a lot of ball, and they got experience, and they're a good team, man.
It's fascinating matchups.
Centegna, when he's already returned a kick,
he's already returned one.
Yep.
Yeah, you have to know. He's one of those guys you have to know when he's on the. He's like Anias, correct?
Exactly right. You're going to have to get him on the ground and make sure you're covering and doing the right things.
Just the matchups, our secondary against their wide receivers, the way the Aggies take shots, you're gonna put the pressure on their secondary. But ultimately, Jimbo, we can talk skill
shots.
guys. Yep. Yeah, they do, don't they? It's a line of scrimmage league.
Oh, it is.
Every Saturday.
You got to be able to affect the quarterback. You got to be able to get to him. Can't let him sit his feet and just have a field. If he does, he'll kill you. And the same thing, we got to protect ours and play. But you got to stop the run against them and the quarterback run.
Yeah.
Not just the run, the quarterback run, because that evens things up very much. That we did a great job against Auburn's quarterback run. It had me worried going in. When they brought Ashford in, which they do, and then even their starting quarterback. I mean, he would run for 127 yards a week before. And when quarterbacks run, man, it evens those numbers up. So you got to be able to defeat blocks and then still get guys on the ground.
If you're a fan of tight ends, this is a game for tight ends. They've got a young one who's been really good for them.
They have. He's their second leading receiver, catching touchdowns, big plays, and gets vertical down the field. Man, he can make plays. And number 9, and he's a freshman.
Yeah.
He's a freshman.
It's incredible. You've got Jake Johnson. You've got Max Wright. You've got Theo Mellon-Orstrom. That's just the top 3. And there was something, if you don't mind me sharing, it was at a practice a while ago. There was a throw that it was a pass that was thrown at and just thrown away, and you and Bobby Petrino both said, "Hey, you've got the running back there, or you're teaching your quarterbacks. You don't have to just throw it away. The entire progression, and with those tight ends getting open, that's the difference between."
They're great safety valves, and their size and length allows them to be open when they're covered. You know what I mean? And with ball placement, giving them a chance to do things. And, that we're learning that. And like I say, you see Jake and those guys roll, just keeps growing and growing.
Yeah, and the way you talk about running backs having to pass pro and catch it, they've got to block too, right?
Oh, I mean.
The tight end has to.
Tight ends are linemen that are receivers. That's a heck of a combination of a person. That's why it's so unique, and it's hard to get great ones that do both, you know what I mean? And like the complete game to do that, and the physicality of it, then the skill of it, and then, it's a hard position to play.
It's almost like these positions now, Jimbo, on both sides of the ball, these hybrid types. Tight ends are almost like receivers. I think of someone like Malik Silla, right, on defense. The guy that you talk about can bend that rush and has that size.
But then can drop. You saw him drop. He dropped last week and made a great play on a screen against their tight end right there in front of us. It was a big 4th down play, which that was the one they were going to kick the field goal, and we backed him up, and then he made the play so they couldn't get back in field goal range to do the things they had to do. I mean, so, it's just like basketball. All right, you got a 7-1 guy that's shooting threes now. All right, so you got to go get somebody. You can't just get a big center on him because he'll go around him when he's out there. You got to find you a guy that's big, long, and athletic. So when one side has something, the other side's got to go counter that in what you do and who you pick up. And that's how the game's evolving so much.
Yeah, and
it's become a specialist game. I mean, there's
really
a physicality
has.
of it, but there's specialty downs, distance situations, and everything, and that's just the way it's evolving.
And you love to be able to use Shamar Turner again, inside, outside. For
be able to
right?
rush, be able to rush inside, outside, be able to play the run, whether you're heavy on a tight end side or what the runs are. And those guys up front, man, they're invaluable.
How about him running down the line of scrimmage and tackling a guy at the sideline?
Oh, but that's it. He plays that way every day.
You say that's every snap for him, right?
Listen, the guy's wide open, man. All you got to do is turn the film on. And there's some guys you can say, turn the film on and say, what's a good game to watch? When you're a real player, you know what you can say? Any game. What's a good game when you got hustling? Any game. Shamar's a guy you can say that. Listen, give me a play that he's just busting his tail. Well, go pull up any game and any play.
It's like dropping the needle on an album that you love,
exactly.
Right? You love every song.
Exactly right. I mean, that's just the way he plays.
We've got one more segment of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit, so come on back to Rudy's. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Final segment of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credits. The Aggies and Arkansas Saturday at 11. Our pregame show comes to you. We start at 10 o'clock there in Arlington. And 2 more years for this game, Jimbo. But you like the atmosphere of the 50-50 like a bowl, and you like playing in an NFL stadium.
Well, I mean, I think it's good for our kids. I mean, they like playing up there. It's a neutral site. It's like a bowl game. It's like a playoff game. It's not like it's in a bad venue. It's like, and our kids have always wanted to play in that stadium. The kids that grew up in this state, and it gets us up there around Dallas. I mean, but I don't mind if they put them all in Kyle Field. If we could have them in Kyle Field every time we didn't play up there, it'd be great. But I don't like leaving Kyle. But I don't mind going there. I really don't. I think it's a good venue and good atmosphere.
What's really kind of cool is if you're good enough, you could go to the Cotton Bowl. If you're even better, you could be playing in a national semifinal or some years the championship game there, right, too?
Exactly right. They're getting used to playing there and doing it.
Yeah. You have kids who either have played with one another, against one another in the state of Texas on both these two, so that kind of adds a little bit to it.
It does. I mean, they recruit the state of Texas very hard and always have in the history of it. And that's why they were in the old Southwest Conference and the rivalries and the games. And, it's like you're playing your brother. I mean, you played so many times over the years, you just get used to it.
Yeah. It's so funny, and when I say this, Vegas can never get this game right. I just don't know how. There's so many intangibles, Jimbo. It becomes a one-possession game, it seems, every single year.
It does, and that's just the way it always is in those rivalry games.
Yeah, I was talking with some of the Razorback broadcasters, and they said, we're tired of seeing Ananias. I said, KJ can graduate any time now.
Yeah, he's been there a long time, too.
He can do that. They said, if you bring out Christian Kirk now, we're going to be a little bit worried because Christian's got some great moments. But it goes back to what you said, even about Max Johnson or anybody. Opportunity, right? Games like this gives you an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, and there's somebody to step up, an opportunity for you as an individual, opportunity for your team to grow. Opportunity to say that you're ready to keep taking steps towards all your goals that you want to achieve for the year's over.
It's always fun to see the Aggies up there in North Texas.
It is, and we recruit it so hard. We got so many kids from up that area.
Yeah,
it's good.
Between Houston and Dallas, I mean, Jimbo, you've always said you got to take care of the state of Texas. There's so much talent. You always say they're going to find you if you've got talent. They're going to find you.
There's no hiding down in the social media world and the video and the things that go on. No matter how big the school is, how small the school is, where it's at. How populated, it didn't matter. You get found.
I joked with Randy Bond because he's up there in Plano, and I did not know how his teams were. I said, have you kicked in here before? He goes, no, we only won like 3 games. Never had a chance.
Never had a chance to get
Unfortunately. But he's someone who's really good in that. Like last year, you thought his kick was good. It looked good from where we were also. Like, again, the moments, that's what I love about guys like him. The moment's never too big for them, Jimbo.
No, it doesn't seem to be, and he's calmed down and knows he belongs and knows he has confidence now, and hopefully he'll continue. Knock on wood to kick well.
Yeah, and Jacob Graham is a long snapper. That's like you say.
He's done a great job. The only time the long snapper when there's a mess up. You know what I'm saying? And that's the greatest sign that you don't ever worry about him. And I joke about him. I said sometimes I forget about you because you just keep doing your job. You know what I mean? And you really don't, but you appreciate it. But Jacob's doing a phenomenal job. Our kicking game. We've been very good in our kicking game.
You've reminded us in the past. It's not a problem till it's a problem.
Exactly.
Right. But you always say don't get bored. So that just tells me
that's the other thing. Don't get bored. Don't try to just keep doing your job. To keep doing your job. Consistency. That's what sports in the world everything's about. Consistency, the ability to execute and do something a repetitive number of times. How many times in a row can you do it?
Turn it loose on Saturday. Beat the hell out of Arkansas.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you. He is Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. It's the Aggies and the Arkansas Razorbacks. And we will come to you at 10 o'clock with our St. Joseph Health pregame show. You will hear from Albert Regis in our pregame show. You'll also hear Jimbo Fisher during that. And Max and Jake Johnson will talk with Will Johnson during that pregame show. 11 o'clock will be the kick for the Aggies and the Razorbacks. Arkansas is 2-2 coming into this game. Kevin Menchow is the engineer here at Rudy's. Tony O'Neill is our producer in our Learfield studios. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for joining us. For Jimbo Fisher, I'm Andrew Monaco. Thanks and gig 'em.